Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hyams here. Bob Stewart way over there. Bob, how are you doing today?
Well,
I
Chad.
know exactly what you're about to say. Let's go for it, Bob.
Yeah, look, if my mom and your mom know, because they're like our only regular listeners,
Yes.
often I'm all over the person's background. I'm like, what's going on in their background? You know, some people have cool ones and some people have fake ones. And we have a guest today, and you brought him, and he has what I would call a taunting background.
Ooh.
Like, I feel like he's taunting me, or you brought him here to taunt me, to be like, you know, get in shape, you lazy piece of garbage. Like, this guy is, I don't know how many are back there. I can't count that high, but there must be 15. They're big medallions, so I'm assuming they're for like marathons, full ones. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about it when he comes on, Chad, but how you doing?
I'm doing great, Bob. I'm in shape. I'm always doing good. I always have the energy. I'm always ready to go. Yes, I didn't even think about that when I invited today's guest. This is not the reason I invited him, yet that was absolutely the first thing you went to when you logged in, was you saw all these medals. You see, for me, I'm bringing this guest on. I've known him for, he'll probably tell you, I don't know, it's 20-ish years, just under 20 years now, probably. And Bob, if we go back to the IMSD days,
okay,
right? Internet Marketing Specialist Designation, for those of you who are like, what the heck is that? It's a program Ben and I built years ago where we taught people how to use the internet to grow their business.
He's got the certificate.
Got his certificate that said he's an IMSD graduate. I have a letter somewhere in a file somewhere still from Craigslist, a cease and desist letter. We changed how real estate was displayed, run, and operated, folks. We broke Craigslist. We had a great time doing it. And in one of the homework assignments, the students had to tweet at me. That's how long ago it was. It was still called Twitter, right? They had to tweet at me. And this guest tweeted to me and actually got me to come to Kansas City to teach a class because of it. And our friendship grew from there. I feature him in Achieve Your Apex. Okay. I did not do my homework. I'd have to quickly scroll. It's like chapter 2 or 3 where I share his story, I believe.
I think it's page like 42.
There you go. You might have an idea of what page you show up on, Matt. On page 42. And Matt went out, and he has since obviously grown amazing levels, and wrote a book that I thought was definitely worth bringing him on the Win, Make, Give podcast to talk to our audience about, because these are challenges that they face each and every day. So no more babbling. Let's just bring him on the podcast. Your friend and mine, Matt Lewczenko, welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast.
Well, I'm going to have to record that and play that intro every time I do anything.
Okay, there you
go. Both Bob's mention to my subtle visual flex and Chad's recap.
Medals. Let's get to it before we even get to the bio and get to who you really are. How many medals are back there?
Probably 20 some. I lost count because there's a certain amount of hooks. They're not all full.
There you go. Okay. Halves, fulls, what do you,
mostly halves. There's a full in there, and then some production medals too.
Yeah. Production medals mixed in. All right. Bob, you might have earned 1 or 2 of those. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If there's someone listening to the Win, Make, Give podcast that wants to run a half or a full marathon, I will give you a text code before we're done that if you text it, I will create a custom training program for you, no obligation. All right. I'll take the time and I'll build you the program to help you train from where you are to that finish line. Now, Matt, while I'm getting that to give to everybody, we don't do bios. You're a listener of Win, Make, Give, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, we don't do bios. You're probably the only one who showed up prepared for this. Now, introduce yourself to our audience.
Matt Lewczenko, Matt with 1 T. According to my certificate, Chad and I have known each other since April 29th of 2012.
Okay.
And so I've been in real estate for the last 15 years. Prior to real estate, my background was in education. I've got a master's of fine arts in acting and directing in classical theater and stage combat. So I was really professionally geared towards getting into real estate once I found out there were scripts for this. And then through that, just built a business pretty quickly. But my passion for coaching, teaching, and educating always kept putting me in front of the room. And I was always looking for ways of helping other agents grow. And so I got into coaching and leadership and ran several offices and became a national coach and trainer, and then started my own coaching company. And that's where we're at today.
Okay, that's where we're at professionally. Hang on, Bob, because that's where we're at professionally. Yet because of what we're going to probably mostly be talking about in our audience out there, there's more to you than that. So you're also a father, right? I mean, there's more to that to Matt.
Yeah. Father, husband, brother, son, all the things, speaker, author, I've changed a tire on the car as well. Like I've done a few things.
Oh, now I'm impressed.
But no. And so again, super grateful to come on. Been listening for years. It's kind of cool, kind of full circle. And we were joking prior as saying, hey, one of the easiest ways to get on a podcast is have one of the hosts write the forward to your book. And so huge gratitude for Chad for taking the time to put together that forward. And again, it's kind of cool when you ask somebody to do that and then you get it. And, you never know what you're going to get. I'm super grateful for you and our relationship. And I just so appreciate you.
Thank you, Matt. And I'll tell you that there's nothing more vulnerable than that moment. I remember asking Ben and Clint Swindoll, two mentors of mine, if they would each write the forward for Achieve Your Apex, and then just sitting there, one, hoping they'd say yes, and then two, waiting on the words they say. That's a vulnerable one. All right, Bob, you've been waiting to jump in with.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't know, this is my 24th year in real estate, I think, and it's never once dawned on me that maybe one of the best places that somebody could go to recruit agents is like your local theater. Right? Like, holy cow.
Scripts, right?
It's scripts. Like, it's just scripts.
Listen, the day that I found out there were scripts for this, I was like, when was someone going to tell me? Because every agent out there says they hate them, and I made a living with them, and it was instantaneous. Everyone's like, your conversion ratios are really high. Why? I was like, because I know what to say.
There you go. So folks, if you're looking to grow a real estate, heck, any business, if it involves scripting, loans, real estate, insurance, go find at your local playhouse the actors and other people there. They love scripts. All right. So Matt's book, it's The Entrepreneur's Regret, Your Guide to Having It All Without Risking It All.
Yeah.
Okay. So folks, if you want to get it, that's the title. It'll be in the show notes. Good luck spelling Matt's name to be able to search him on Amazon. We can help you with that if need be. Yet, Matt, give me the 30-second elevator pitch of The Entrepreneur's Regret. Why should I read it? What am I going to get from it that we're going to talk about part of today?
So in the last 12, 13 years of coaching, I've discovered and kind of realized one thing, and it's something that I outlined early in the book, and it's called the entrepreneur's paradox. And what it means is like, it's if you go into any real estate class, group, et cetera, and you ask people, raise your hand if you're doing this for your family and your legacy, and everyone and their spouses and your loved ones, everyone raises their hand. And what they're not willing to admit at the same time is that those are exactly the same people that we put on the shelf or on the back burner as we're like building this thing. They're the first ones that we sacrifice. They're the dinners that we miss. It's the vacations that are disconnected. It's the evenings that we have to hide inside a bottle of something in order to just get back to neutral. And so like all of the time we're saying, oh, my big why is my family, my et cetera. And again, they're the first ones that we set to the side. And so what I saw through coaching was that there were so many people that were winning on paper and losing everywhere else that mattered. And one of the biggest challenges I think that we have is that there's so much hustle culture and there's so much like behavioral emphasis on like the grind and like they're like make hay while the sun is shining, that like there's oftentimes very little conversation around true counterbalance. And I'm high performance. I understand there's times where we're going to have to be all in a season somewhere, understanding that there's got to be like, equal, if not more purposeful recuperation and focus on the relationships. And then the last part that we never talk about is physical and mental health. So when we talk about health, it's physical and mental. Both of those are tied together, and they feed everything else. What I found was the piece that the thread that was causing so much chaos in the three areas of leadership, love, and life was the inability for people to truly be all in where they should be. And so the end of the elevator pitch, if you will, is my goal and my mission is to help entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial parents get their nights and weekends back through ruthless prioritization, systems, and tools so they can actually be present instead of having to buy presents to prove to their family that they still love them. And at the end of the day, look good and be an emotionally regulated human being at the same time. So the family can get the best of them and not what's left of them.
He had me until that emotionally regulated part.
So Chad, even you have opportunity. You're welcome.
There you go. We all have opportunity, Matt.
I mean, as you coach people, as you're like doing research for your book, what is it control? Like, look, my wife she runs our household. She's like high powered corporate sales executive. So she's like essentially an entrepreneur. I mean, she works inside a corporation, but control. Like, I think like her biggest issue, give control. Of so many entrepreneurs, they built this thing. They do all the things, Matt, right? Is control like that central thing that people's got to learn to give up, and it leads into leverage. Like, where do I start if I'm this person that's just, I'm out of whack, everything's being poured in my business, my family, my life is it's a wreck. Like, where do I start?
Awesome question. So that control oftentimes I see is symptomatic of a lack of understanding of leadership and leverage. Truly, right? Like it's the top performers and producers that struggle with that the most are the ones that have built their own mousetrap, right? It's because they failed to actually elevate their leadership lid, and so what got them there is also keeping them there. And they think that just by working harder it gets better. It doesn't. Every level has its devil, and unless you learn the lesson of the level, you're going to continue to repeat it. And just because your income grows doesn't mean that you've become a better business owner. You just become like the chains get heavier if we don't truly learn at some point. Look, this is a leadership podcast. And so sometimes I don't even remember if I heard it here or Ben talked about it. And so if I say anything and I fail to give credit, just know it all came from
Chad and I were talking earlier. I can't remember the last.
There's so many times I'm like, oh man, Ben, that was killer, right? I'll be like, oh yeah, the 4 levels of leadership: self, and then others. Anyways, it's back to that question. I feel like it's less a lack of control, but oftentimes the anxiety that most agents or businesses feel is that, number one, mission, vision, values, clarity of purpose can be vague, because when your core values and your mission and purpose is clear, decision-making is easy. And then your productivity when you should be there is usually lacking. So just because you put in 12 hours physically somewhere, you probably only did 2 to 3 hours of tactical and strategic work. And so what happens is, and it's that inability to be all in where you're supposed to be, creates a threat of guilt in the other areas. For instance, if you should be at work or the office and you know you should be lead generating, making connections, strengthening relationships, following up with leads, and you're not, when you're home, when you should be home, when the phone rings, you feel like you have to get it because you didn't fill the pipeline when you should have been.
You didn't do the work earlier that day, and so the work showed up, and you got to jump on it whenever it shows up because you didn't prioritize it to show up at the right time. Man.
Conversely, if I'm not home and I'm not giving my family the attention, the focus, and engagement that they deserve when I'm there, then when I'm at work and the phone rings from them, I feel like I got to answer it because that relationship's also fragile. And in the meantime, because I'm not able to be purposeful here and I'm not purposeful here, well, I don't have time for myself, and self-care starts to feel selfish. And so whether it's a hobby that's physical, whether it's the gym, or even just taking some time for meditation and journaling, all of a sudden you have high performers that say, well, if it's not moving the needle or increasing my net worth, it doesn't get my time. And the challenge is that, well, at the end of the day, when you've hit your zeros and the score finally matches the thing that you had in your head, number one, is there anyone left to celebrate it with? And are you still alive? Are you healthy enough to go on those trips, to have the fun and actually enjoy and spend the money? And, plenty of lessons along the way, personally and anecdotally, to put in the book. And I wrote it as a guide and as a journal to share the things that have worked for me, and then also share some of the warning signs and the lessons from others that I've had the privilege of working with, that unfortunately also, had their families and their relationships completely fall apart.
Absolutely. All right. I want to go to the health piece, not in detail. All right. I'm not looking like, Matt, let's get us all in the gym and all that stuff. Bob, here's that enough for me all the time anyway. Yet you took on the challenge of the half marathon. You took on the challenge of something like that. That doesn't move the needle for your family, because you're spending even less time with them, because now you have to find that time for yourself, for the training, for the running and all that stuff. It doesn't move the needle at business, right? Yet what were the benefits of taking on some sort of challenge like that, other than just, I was healthier, when you took that on, that other people should consider? Doesn't have to be the marathon, folks, but some sort of physical challenge to get those things firing.
I think for me, it's been about, so many people say they struggle with imposter syndrome, and what they're really dealing with is a cognitive dissonance between what they say and what they do. And for me, being in the gym and being someone who doesn't miss, being someone who makes promises to myself in the dark, that sticks to the plan when no one's asking, when no one's watching, those things do move the needle in business, because I begin to develop a cadence and a ritual of maintaining these promises, these micro choices throughout the day. Look, anyone that's been on this podcast didn't land there because of one fell swoop. It was that compounding effect of the micro commitments that go over and over and over again. And you talk about this in the book, and you've coached to this. Again, maintaining that string, that chain of wins is so valuable. It takes so long to create habit, and it doesn't take a lot to start to unravel it. And so when I talk about these micro commitments and being someone who doesn't miss, it's about creating the mindset and shifting identity. Right. And I talk about this story in the book is, and if you allow me to just kind of go off the path, I was a former smoker. I smoked for like 16, 17 years. And when I met my wife, we had been dating for about 2-3 months, and she just had a fierce conversation with me one day. And I had attempted to quit smoking like 7 times up to that point. 3 months here, 6 months here, 4 months here. And I always went back, right? It never stuck. And then she was like, listen, I really like you and I want to spend a lot of time with you, but like kissing you is gross. And I honestly, like, not only is it gross, I can't see myself with somebody who's a smoker. Well, that was July of 2006. I remember the day specifically because at that moment, I didn't have to quit smoking. I became a non-smoker. That's the difference. See, people who quit smoking think about cigarettes every day. Non-smokers don't think about smoking. I became a non-smoker because I valued that relationship and I wanted to be there. And so it was an identity shift for me. So for me, these medals, they're fun and they're cool. The challenge was, honestly, is that I thought that by setting a goal and hitting it, I would like achieve the thing that I was looking for, but that just created the peaks and valleys. And what I realized is I was becoming so committed to the end result, thinking that the payoff was going to be at the finish line, but really it was about the journey and the process.
Yeah, it was about becoming the person that could do the thing at the end, and that's all about the days that you stacked on top of each other to get there.
Exactly. And it was like, I'll share. So when I finished my first marathon, and I did it, I had COVID and I didn't know. But like the only reason I kind of thought I had, anyways, as I was barely making it to the finish line at 5.5 hours, and there's not many people left at that time, there was this one, it felt like a scene from a movie. I don't know. It probably didn't even happen. I probably hallucinated it. But there was this gentleman standing at the cattle chutes, like no one else was around him. And it's again, 5.5 hours into the race. And he's clapping and he makes eye contact with me. And he said, "You did it. And no one can take it from you." And I literally, for the next 150 yards, was just bawling. Just
runner's high. You completely hallucinated.
Completely bawling. I don't know, like hallucinating, fever. Absolutely. I don't know, cough. But however, it was that, and the thing is that it was the choices, the process, and becoming someone who's just about the process. And for me, the process now and the identity shift is I don't miss. My health, physically and mentally, is my priority. In fact, it's my obligation for my family to make sure that they get the best of me and not the rest of me or what's left of me. The world doesn't get to dictate how I show up for my family, right? Like, and it's not fair that the people I come home to get me blinking on 5 when everybody else had the best of me. Not fair, and it's not okay. And I won't stand for it. And the only way that I can take care of that is by that commitment.
Okay, so Bob's a busy guy. He's got 2. How old are they now, Bob? 5'7", 6'8",
8'9",
8'9". All right,
7'9", 7'9". There
you go. Right. Well, between us, we'll figure out how old they are. How does Bob go? And our audience, I'm just picking on Bob, right? How does a Bob who's a busy guy? Sometimes it's work at home where he needs to, forearm the kids and say, "Get out." Right? I'm working. Sometimes it's he's out of the house for however. What are some of the tips, tricks Bob can learn to then be able to turn that off and turn on? Now I'm going to be with my family and give them what they deserve.
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of external hacks, but I think a lot of it has to start from within. Purpose creates priority. Until you get really clear as to why it's important, then you'll never make time. Right? Because then it's always going to feel like a chore. The reality is that at first it is a chore until it becomes what you do. And what's cool is that they're watching. And my daughters now understand that we are a fit family. We make choices for our physical health and we create space for it. And so they show up differently now. My daughters are now 12 and 15. When my daughter was 5, she stood in the doorway with her hands outstretched when we were playing in the hallway. And she goes, "You can't come in without the password." And I'm like, "Well, what's the password?" And she said, "Daddy's big belly." And I'm like,
punch you in the gut.
And there was a lot to punch. She wasn't wrong. And it was that moment where I was like, okay, this is how I actually show up in the world. And this is how she sees me. It's my obligation to change that story. We are a fit family. We don't miss.
Chad,
that's it.
You'll be like, I'm not running marathons by any means, but I am like running with my boys every day outside. I'm doing all the basketball drills with them. I got the older boy, he wants a 6-pack. He's obsessed with a 6-pack. So every night, kind of to your point of like, okay, we're going to be a fit family. Like we do our sit-ups and he's doing push-ups and he's doing planks. He can friggin' hold a plank longer than I can. But yeah,
he's got no body weight to him, Bob Stewart.
I know, but they see us and they start to emulate those things and out of the mouths of babes, right, Matt? Like, geez.
Yeah, dude. Look, Chad could challenge me and try to hold me accountable and shame me into doing it and text me every morning and ask. And it just takes, look, Your life moves at the speed of your relationships and the quality of the questions that are asked of you. And sometimes you're one conversation or one statement away from a completely different life, and you never know where it's coming from. And my daughter gave me a gift. I could have chose to get offended. I could have been like, how dare you? You don't talk to me like that. This is respect. No, I was like, hey, you know what? Like, okay, I hear you. Now you're grounded. And
well said. Well said. Look, there are external things too, right? It's like before you go home, maybe stop somewhere for 5 minutes and listen to a song, have a meditation, call a friend, text somebody before you walk in. So you flip that switch so you don't come in still working. I remember some of my mentors who would say they'd be parked around the corner from their house, finishing all those phone calls before they walked in. Because when they walked in, they were in family mode to make sure that they didn't walk in doing no, I'm still on the phone while the kid's kind of doing the daddy's home, right?
Yeah.
Powerful stuff. All right, Matt, look, everybody should read the book, right? I've got mine, keep close. They're not going to though. What's the one thing hidden in this book here that if they never read it, you want them to know it's buried in some page. You might know your page number even, but there is some tool, some trick, some hack, something in here that you can give everyone today.
I would say the number one thing that I can share that was probably the most impactful for me was the section on, in my world, love is spelled time, Time. And you just described exactly the first letter. So Time stands for T, take a second and disconnect. And what you just described is exactly that. One of my role models was Mr. Rogers growing up. In fact, I watched him every day. And if you remember, how did he start every episode?
Hi, neighbor. He walked in the door and said, hi, neighbor. He was
walking in, but what was he wearing? He was wearing his car. He was wearing his business suit. And he came in and he changed in the closet. He took off his business shoes and put on his Chucks and he tied them. And as soon as he tied them, he then was Mr. Rogers and he said, hi, neighbor.
Right.
He physically left the grown up, the adult world, the business world and said, now it's time for us to have a conversation as neighbors. And so it's that same transition. Take a second, disconnect, and transition. My family doesn't need to feel the effects of the fires that I'm dealing with. They've been waiting 8 to 10 hours to see me. That first moment, that opportunity that we get is so impactful that if we miss it, we're creating core memories in the wrong direction. Right? Like Inside Out, that movie. Again, I've got little kids. I'm gonna Inside Out, and it's like they get one of those balls that's like red, like, and they put that in there. And I did that. I messed up pretty big once when my daughter was young. Now, gratefully, I shared that story with her, and she goes, I don't even remember that. And I'm like, you don't today, but your therapist will probably pull it out of you in 10 years.
Yeah, like she doesn't remember that one thing, but collectively you start stacking those little sad balls around, and it just becomes, all of a sudden you have a 13-year-old kid that's sad. You don't even know why, but it was all those days dad came home and was like, I'll get to you later.
Yeah. So the T stands for take a second and disconnect. The I stands for inquire about me. Here's the thing. Everybody loves being asked questions and talk about themselves. And often I'm not good at that. I'm not naturally disposed to be super curious because I spent all that through coaching and consulting and sales. And even me, who's highly extroverted, et cetera, I get peopled out. So when I come in, I have to purposefully and intentionally start asking. So I'll go on to ChatGPT and I'll be like, give me a list of questions to engage with my 12 and 15-year-old daughter. What are we talking about today? And I'll be like, bing, 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 bing. And I'll look at it before I come in the door and I got a couple to go. And here's the thing. We think that everyone wants to spend all evening with us. My daughters, they want 20 minutes, but they want 20 quality minutes. And then they're going to go get on Snap. They're going to go talk to their friends, play Roblox or whatever. And so if I mess that first 20 minutes up, I messed up the whole evening, but it's only 20 minutes. And oftentimes we think it's so much more. So the I stands for inquire about me. The M stands for make me feel loved. And how do we do that? Well, we got to I go back to and I lean on the 5 love languages.
Yes.
And so oftentimes we make the mistake of showing love the way that we like to receive love, but we're talking somebody else's language. The only reason I know that is that I'll attempt to reach out to my family with my languages and they just don't receive it. So get really good at figuring that out, and then find those times to do that. And my wife is acts of service and words of affirmation. My daughter is quality time. And then my other daughter is physical touch. So for her, it's like a hug, sit next to her, etc. Like that's it. And then the E is encourage me, be my cheerleader, create the possibility, challenge me to grow and be my best. And that's what they want. When they come up to me with these great ideas, and I'm like, that sounds amazing. Like, how do you see yourself doing that? Do you need any help? Like what? Like, let's get started, right? So just, and they may self-discover that it's not a fit later, but like those 4 key things changed my relationships with my family in such a way that allowed me to start redepositing into that bank that I wanted to from the beginning. Like, I'm doing all this for them, and they're like, we don't care how much we make, we don't care what we drive, we don't care where we go on vacation if when we're on vacation you're not there.
And you just work. And Matt, here's the thing I want to say. I asked that question about what one thing did you want to pull out of this to share with me if they didn't read it. Can I tell you that I had the book in my hand while I did it? I lifted the book up, and my thumb was on page 82.
There it is.
And 82, folks, is where Matt introduces.
Like accidentally, that's where your thumb was at in the book?
That was the page. I had been flipping through the book, and I was like, all right, I got to remember to ask Matt about the TIME acronym, because I have a different definition of what it is, yet it's it's for goal setting. You had it for engagement, interaction, this language of love.
I don't need any more evidence that we're living in a simulation. Like
the Matrix is real. Okay.
Ones and zeros, baby.
So, Matt, I'm going to give you a second to think before I ask you this question. I'm going to remind our audience, look, if you want to run a marathon or a half marathon, I've done it before. I've coached many people across the finish line, and I am happy to build for you a training program. No obligation. All you have to do is text the word run a marathon. One word, run a marathon, no spaces, to 59559. You text that, it'll give you a link to a form I need you to fill out, gives me some basic information. I will generate for you a training guide. We will get you across any finish line if the half or the full has ever been a challenge you've wanted to take on. Okay, Matt, last thought. I don't care if you repeat something you repeated already. I don't care if there's something on your heart you didn't get to share yet that you've just been dying to share. Give us 1 minute, last thoughts about entrepreneur's regret or whatever it is you want.
I think the last thing I would share is that, like, you got to get really intentional with your board of directors. What people say that you become the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. I say that's incomplete. You become the average of the standards of the 5 people that you allow into your life. And so there's 3 levels to it. You can go and create your board of directors from influencers that you follow. That is the free way, but that's way out there. There's no access to that. Then you could be reaching out to the people in your sphere that you respect to bring into your board of directors. That's also low cost, but also your results may vary. Or you can get a coach, you can buy into a mastermind, you can get direct access to the people that are achieving it at a high level and creating results. Your life changes at the speed of your relationships. And that's the most important thing that I can literally share. My world didn't change until I had people that took a stand for me that said, hey, you're not living what you're saying. This doesn't fly. So let's fix it.
Bob Stewart, got a board of directors?
I do. Yeah.
Good. Audience, do you? Right? If you don't, it's time to get one. Even if you're starting with just finding those people, like Matt had said, who are just in your sphere that you want to be able to tell you the truth. They'll help you get where you're going.
Yeah, if you can get Ben Kinney on your board of directors, I suggest it because he says really hard shit to you.
But here's the thing. Ben is on my board, but he doesn't know it. He's one of my external influencers that I follow. His influence on me is unknown for him. But Ben's my best friend. He just doesn't know it.
Yeah, there you go. I fired Ben from my board of directors. No, he'll be on my board of directors forever. He has a seat. Folks, We hope that the Win Make Give podcast has earned a seat on your board of directors, right? And you know what? If you reach out to Bob or I'll bet you we'll be happy to help take that to that next level so you don't have any sort of regret, entrepreneur or not.
Text me, 408-638-1834. 408-638-1834. Chad, I will be on their board of directors.
All right. And all you got to do is text Run a Marathon to 59559 and you and I will be in contact, and I'll just leave it right there and make it easy. Matt, thank you so much for the book that people can get online. Go grab your copy on Amazon. And thank you so much for taking the time today to share. And you know what? Thank you for the relationship all these years.
Matt, I love the time thing, man. Like I would like that a lot. I'm going to use it today when my boys come home from basketball camp. That's a really good framework to like engage your children when you get home. I love it.
You only need a few minutes. They don't really want to talk to us that long.
Yeah. Then they're off playing basketball, and my kids do the Roblox stuff too. And yeah, they're like,
I have no idea what you guys are talking about since my daughter's 24 now and does not play with any of that stuff. I will go figure it out and start playing with it myself. Matt, thanks for taking the time joining us. Bob, as always, speak to you very soon in audience. Until our next one, do good.